All right, I want you to imagine a business model where you charge customers an admission fee, feed them low grade utility pizza with a massive markup, and then get them to gamble their loose change on arcade games with a 90% profit margin. It sounds like a regulatory nightmare waiting to happen, but for 40 years, this wasn't just a pizza place, it was an unregulated casino for children. This is a masterclass in vertical integration, or is it financial suicide? Here's the breakdown. Most people look at Chuck E. Cheese and see a nostalgia trap or a parent's birthday nightmare. But we aren't looking at the mascot, we're auditing the system. This company was not founded by a chef. It was founded by Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari. He didn't want to sell pepperoni, he wanted a hardware distribution channel that cut out the middleman. For decades, this machine printed cash, but recently the mouse, or was it a rat, walked into the bankruptcy court. This was for the second time in company history, but this time it was with billions of dollars of debt. Today, we're going to do a surgical audit on the rise, the rivalry, the rebrand, and the private equity leverage trap that ultimately brought down the original king of entertainment. Nolan Bushnell was a titan of innovation, a visionary who saw beyond the Pong machine to a universe of integrated entertainment. He didn't just build Atari, he built an ecosystem, vertically integrating game development, manufacturing, and distribution. This early success made him an industry legend, but it also taught him and us a critical lesson. You always have a boss. Even the most brilliant founders reports up the chain, from the CEO to the board to the shareholders and ultimately to the customer. Bushnell's eventual departure from Atari, partially due to clashes with the Warner Communications management, is a stark reminder that strategic misalignment at the top can derail even the most innovative ventures. This era also served as a cautionary tale against hubris. The market saturating failure of the game created by Atari wasn't just a misstep. It was a monumental assertion of corporate overconfidence, believing that brand dominance would override quality control and market realities. Their hubris was a major factor in the video game collapse of 1983, and this experience was subtly shape his next big idea. Right off the top, one needs to understand the unit economics of the 1970s arcade business. Bushnell founded Atari, and he had a massive problem with value leakage. He was selling arcade cabinets to operators for about $1,500. But those same machines were generating $30,000 to $50,000 in quarters over their lifetime. He was doing all the R&D, building the hardware, and taking all the manufacturing risk, just to let a middleman collect the recurring revenue. He was leaving massive value on the table. His solution? Vertical integration. Instead of selling the hardware, he would build a venue where he owned the machines, the real estate, and the food. In business strategy, we call this a captive audience. Once the parents were inside, they were stuck. The kids are hungry, and the tokens, they were the only currency that mattered. The pizza was essentially a loss leader, or a low-margin utility designed to solely keep you inside the building long enough to dump quarters into the high-margin machines. But here's the reality check. To make this work, you needed to draw them in the door. Bushnell looked at Disney's models and said, I can do that, but I can do it far cheaper. He engineered animatronics to perform the shows. Why? It wasn't just for the kids. It was labor cost arbitrage. Robots, they don't demand union wages. They don't take smoke breaks, and they don't steal cash from the register. It was operational efficiency disguised as entertainment. The system was designed to be a cash flow monster, funneling quarters directly back to Atari. By 1979, the concept was validating. Cash flow was undeniable. But then Bushnell made a critical strategic error. He signed a co-development deal with a guy named Robert Brock. Now, Brock wasn't the innovator. He was the largest franchisee of Holiday Inns. He understood scale, and he had the capital to deploy this nationwide immediately. But before the ink was dry, Brock had found a better supplier for the animatronics, a company called Creative Engineering. He looked at Bushnell's contract, looked at the better robots, and effectively said, I'm out. Brock breached the contract and launched a new business called ShowBiz Pizza Place.
I bet that pizza tastes good.
Mm-hmm. You've never seen a place like ShowBiz Pizza Place.
It was the exact same business model. Pizza, tokens, and robots, but with better execution on each and significantly deeper pockets. This is a classic deployment of the second mover strategy. Brock was able to assess what Bushnell was doing and create a better product. And this is why William C. Calvin was quoted as saying, "You know the pioneers, they're the ones with arrows in their backs." And that's exactly what this was talking about. First mover advantage allows you to design the system the way you want, but second mover advantage means they take advantage of everything they learned by watching you. When Brock breached this contract, it sparked one of the most aggressive corporate wars in retail history. You had two identical chains expanding aggressively, cannibalizing each other's markets, suing each other into oblivion. An important lesson here is to manage your debt and be as least leveraged as possible in business. Slow growth is better than no growth, because when the hardware novelty had worn off, Bushnell's Pizza Time Theater was over-leveraged and it filed for bankruptcy in 1984. In a twist that you usually only see in hostile tech takeovers, the copycat ShowBiz bought out the original company out of bankruptcy. Eventually, they rebranded everything to Chuck E. Cheese because the name had slightly better brand recognition. But make no mistake, the innovator lost. The operator won. Fast forward to the modern era. The business had stabilized. It wasn't high growth, but it was a cash cow. They owned their real estate in many locations and had consistent, predictable cash flow. This makes you a perfect target for private equity, and in 2014, Apollo Global Management acquired the company for $1.3 billion. This was a classic leveraged buyout, also known as an LB. And here's the breakdown of why this is dangerous. When private equity buys you, they often load the debt used to buy the company onto the company's own balance sheet. Chuck E. Cheese went from being a pizza arcade to being a debt servicing vehicle. But the real structural leak was the sale-leaseback. They sold the land, the actual dirt, and rented it back to the company. They traded long-term stability for short-term liquidity to pay down private equity debt. Your moat, it's gone when you no longer own the ground that you stand on. They had nearly $1 billion in debt on the books. They were paying tens of millions annually just in interest. This strips away all your free cash flow. You can't reinvest in the stores. You can't update the hardware. The carpets get dirty and the games get old. The experience degrades. And here is the macro problem that truly killed them. The entertainment value of the physical arcade dropped to near zero. Kids these days, they've got a phone or maybe an iPod with them at all times. They've got better games and better software than the cabinets in the physical store. The moat that Bushnell built, exclusive access to video games, it evaporated. So you have a business with declining relevance, carrying $1 billion in debt, paying rent on massive square footage, all while labor costs are spiking. When 2020 hit, the revenue went to zero. The debt service didn't stop. The mouse, or was it a rat, filed for Chapter 11, the second time in their history. When lockdown hit, Chuck E. Cheese enacted a desperate maneuver. They launched a ghost kitchen concept, Pasquali's Pizza and Wings. It was available through Grubhub at first and all the others later. Marketed as a premium product with its more crust and sauce, it promised an elevated experience. Consumers, however, swiftly identified it as a Chuck E. Cheese pizza just in disguise. The quality simply did not justify the price tag, and social media erupted, condemning the blatant attempt to rebrand a product they had already rejected. A simultaneous launch of a frozen pizza line achieved precisely the level of popularity that you're currently imagining. And just one of the issues was that they gave you a coupon to go in store that was often expired before the pizza would expire. The brand had become toxic, so they donned a mask. This ghost kitchen swap out wasn't a novel tactic. Applebee's executed a similar ghost kitchen rebranding during the pandemic. While the pandemic certainly presented unprecedented challenges for sit-down restaurants, the public expressed significant frustration over the lack of transparency. Yet uncovering the deception did not require any forensic expertise. A simple search of the address would easily show you it was a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. Legally, this was a gray area. While some might call it a bait and switch, the minor alterations, or crust and a touch more sauce, were enough for the company to claim it technically as a different product. They skirted the letter of the law, but at the cost of consumer trust. Nolan Bushnell was a master of vertical integration, establishing a self-sustaining ecosystem of arcade machines and pizza under one roof. However, he fundamentally misjudged the durability of novelty. Here, he missed the most important lesson from Disney. Focus on the customer experience and their relationship to the story. This is how you move from gimmick to cultural icon. You cannot build a 50-year business on a fleeting gimmick unless you control the foundational intellectual property and cultivate an enduring emotional connection, as Disney did with its theme parks and characters. Chuck E. Cheese owned the distribution channel for arcade machines and mediocre pizza, but it never truly captured the hearts of its audience in a way that guaranteed long-term resilience. This wasn't merely a business model. It was a form of hubris and overestimation of the novelty's staying power. This raises critical questions for any investor or entrepreneur. Would you invest in a 2.0 version of this business model today? Or have physical arcades intrinsically linked to transient novelty become a dead asset class in the era of digital entertainment? This brings us to another critical profit logic lesson. Keep your real estate. While we don't have the specifics of the Chuck E. Cheese property dealings, the diminishing value of their physical arcade footprint highlights the risk of relying on fixed assets in a rapidly changing entertainment environment. For many businesses, failing to adapt how physical real estate contributes to value, or worse, leveraging it away from the short-term gain, proves to be a fatal flaw. When we look deep at the layers in Chuck E. Cheese, revealing not just a nostalgic entertainment center, but a complex business case study, rife with strategic missteps and financial pressures. What began as Bushnell's brilliant vision to vertically integrate arcade distribution ultimately fell victim to the very forces that he helped unleash. The illusion of novelty, a business built on a fleeting gimmick rather than an enduring intellectual property, struggles against inevitable market shifts. Bushnell's era was a lack of self-awareness regarding the transient nature of fads versus enduring IP. He missed the most important lesson from Disney. Focus on the customer experience and the relationship to the story and the characters. And this is how you move from gimmick to cultural icon. The lesson from the showbiz rivalry isn't just about competition. It's about the relentless pursuit of operational excellence over mere innovation. The pandemic era ghost kitchen debacle exposed the fragility of a tarnished brand attempting to hide behind a testament to how quickly consumer trust can be evaporated. The most critical lesson for any business: debt. The burden of debt effectively shifts the boss from consumers or brand vision to creditors and their financial imperatives. Even a company generating tens of millions in operating income can be strangled by a capital structure that prioritizes leverage over resilience. The acquisition by Apollo Global Management in 2014, piling on billions of dollars in debt, turned a challenging business into a financial death trap, ultimately leading to its second bankruptcy. Chuck E. Cheese is more than just pizza and games. It's a living autopsy of business principles gone awry. It's a reminder that profit isn't a happy accident, it's a system. And ignoring the logic of that system, particularly the relentless weight of debt, can turn even a beloved childhood institution into a cautionary tale. What other business have you seen fall victim to similar mistakes? Let us know in the comments.